Okay, everybody. Hello. For those of you on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and Rumble, and KGRADB Radio, appreciate you guys being here. Hello to you guys now on Spreaker. So we're live on our audio format. And hello to you guys. I've been talking to my friends there on TikTok for a little bit. I always start on TikTok a little earlier. We just chill. We just chill before the show. We just chill. They see the behind the scenes fun stuff. So, all right. Well, hello everybody. Welcome. Oh boy, child Amber Alert. 98 Buick LeSabre, child 4-month-old, white female, 10-pound suspect, Michael A. Goodness gracious. So, we just got in Kentucky, we just got a Amber Alert there. All right, everybody, I'm Bishop James Long. Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show and happy Friday to you, wherever you are in this beautiful, 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 beautiful world. A couple things before we get into it. Thank you very much, Ali. I appreciate that. Before we get into the presentation, let me give you a little bit of some information you need to know. How's that? Okay. So I wanted you to go to a website. It's a great website. They produce the show. Mr. The producer is behind the show and behind the scenes, and I was harassing him earlier. But anyway, if you go to kgradb.com, KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. And then I want you to put Bishop as your promo code. Make sure you subscribe because you're going to get 30% off your subscription. Folks, I'm telling you, I love the site. This show actually airs right there, and it's all podcasts. You can watch all of it. Plus, they have a lot of really cool shows there. So if you love the paranormal like I do, and you want quality shows, not just, did you hear that? Did you hear that? I mean, that kind of gets a little old. Yes, we heard it. Move on. But if you really want to cool and to watch some really great shows that are good presentations by presenters that are credible in the field, then you need to go over to kgradb.com and make sure you subscribe. It's very cheap, 30% off your subscription, but you got to put Bishop. Okay, don't forget, put Bishop, KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. Now, my website is bishopjameslong.com. There you go. Now, by the way, if you want to learn angelology, demonology, paranormal studies, and genealogy, guess what? The classes are free. They are now free. Because people say, why did you do that? I'll tell you why. Because there are 4 classes, and they're basically, it was $12.50 a class. Ooh, goodness gracious. And of course, some trolls had to be trolling and saying, oh, I knew he was doing this for money. I knew. So I said, okay, I'll teach them a little lesson. Thank you. So I made it free just to throw pie right in their face, just so they can see that being hateful is karma. See, this is, it's kind of, you goes around, comes around. So that kind of proved this whole idea that Bishop Long just doing for money. Yeah, well, now it's free, and it's been free for a while. So you can take the classes. Could I charge? Sure. Do I have a right to charge? Sure. It's my work. But I'm giving this to you for free to tell the trolls, nanny, boo-boo. Stick your head in whatever. So anyway, thank you there, Rugged. I appreciate that. So they're free. All right. But here's what you need to do. Go to bishopjameslong.com. Click on the class link. Scroll down, and there it is. You'll see all the links right there. Now, if you want to make a donation to the church, you can. You don't have to. But I do not receive those funds. If you make any donation to the church, to the USOCC, that goes to our abbot, Tommy. Tommy Golden. And that helps our clergy, because our clergy, we don't get paid as clergy. We receive no stipend whatsoever. And so it helps the clergy if they have some issues or medical issues or whatever it might be that comes up. We're trying to raise fund because we have only like $400 or something. And so we have very little money in the account. So that's what we're trying to do. So anyway, if you would like to take the classes for free, please do. But if you are able to donate something, you'll see the link right there. It goes right to Abbot Tommy. Okay. And also the church's website at usocc.org. So if you want to know more about the church, well, just go to usocc.org and you'll be ready to go. It's all there for you. And by the way, we have a retreat next year. So if you're interested, please let us know. We do have on usocc.org. Father Sean and Father Mark are flying in, and they need some assistance with some fundraising. So again, we don't get paid. So they want to come to the retreat, but it's expensive. So if you can go to usocc.org, click on the retreat button, and you can make whatever donation you want to either one of them or both. It's entirely up to you. So we would appreciate that. So thank you for that, guys. We appreciate all of your help and your prayers. And one more thing. We have night prayer tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. That they are on Facebook, ANG. They're on Facebook. So the links will take you to it used to be a private Facebook page, but now it's opened. So what you do is you just simply start taking it, just to start. So it'll take you to the link. There's 4 links for each individual class. Okay. And once you click that link, you just go there, read the directions, and just scroll all the way down from assignment number 1. And there you go. And there are also tests, so you can print off certificates and things like that. So you can do that if you'd like. Okay. So there we go, folks. Hopefully, you take advantage of it. Learn. That's what it's there for. That's what we love. We love teaching. Well, thank you. Now, someone put it. I appreciate that. And tonight, excellent. And tonight we have night prayer. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's a lot of people. I think we all need prayer. Every one of us, everyone, even the trolls, especially the trolls, but we all need prayers. So here's what you need to do. Go to bishopjameslong.com and scroll all the way down, and you will see to where this says night prayer. And if you click that link, it takes you right to Spreaker. It's strictly audio, by the way. So it's not it's not video. So there we go. Yeah, well, we all need definitely all need prayer, don't we? So yeah, if you want to go to the church's website, usocc.org. Okay, there we go. Oh well, Marie, Marie says I need a miracle. Well, Marie, we would love to have you tonight. So come on over and type in bishop or usocc.org. Folks, again, here let me say it. The website to the church is usocc.org. Go to the website and you will know, you can ask all the questions. Okay, so Anthony has asked a million questions about my denomination. Again, usocc.org will tell you all you need to know. Now, I studied, for those of you who want to know, your Anthony, your uncle was a Roman Catholic. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I studied for the Roman Catholic priesthood for 6 years. I received my minor orders. I studied with the Benedictines and the Jesuits. Loved it. It was probably I think one of the most probably greatest times of my life. I met some amazing people. One of my instructors was now Bishop Bob Barron, or Robert Barron. We called him Father Bob. But he was wonderful. He was just a brilliant man, brilliant theologian. He really is brilliant. And so he was one of my instructors, and I was truly blessed to have him as one of my instructors. But I decided God kind of said, hey, I need you to look over here. And that wasn't in my plan. That wasn't in my goal. That wasn't my plan. So, and for those of you who are going to come over and be nasty and be hateful and say, you're not in the right denomination, you're this, you're that, then you need to follow what the Pope said. Because you're violating what Pope Francis just recently stated not too long ago. Because there was a reporter who asked him, basically, if someone is not Roman Catholic, should we evangelize? Should we convert them, try to convert them to Roman Catholicism? And his exact answer was no, no, no. He said there's a very grave sin against ecumenism, and that's proselytism. So when you go over, and he's saying when you're going over and telling somebody you're going to burn in the fiery pits of hell because you're not Roman Catholic and you need to convert to the Roman Catholic, he actually called it a grave sin when you do that. So I just have to be, if you're going to call yourself Roman Catholic, that's fine, but you can't go around judging other people because they happen to be not Roman Catholic. I think all these denomination things, folks, look, Roman Catholics believe Jesus is the Messiah. Baptists believe Jesus is the Messiah. Lutherans, Presbyterians, Methodists, they believe Jesus is the Messiah. Christians who are non-denominational believe that Jesus is their Messiah. All this, you're not in the right club crap. you know what, that to me is just very, I think that's problematic, truly problematic. And I don't tolerate that type of nonsense. Just don't. Now, for those of you who are on TikTok, I do appreciate you guys being here, but we're already dealing with trolls. So we're going to fix this problem right now, because we don't deal with trolls here. Not at all. We're adults. We don't play the troll game. So sub chat only is on. And so if you want to chat, you got to subscribe. That's the way it goes. And at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will open up the chat to everybody. But we just don't put up with that stuff. It's just stupid. So there we go. That is what the beginning spiel, if you will, of the presentation. So if you want to subscribe, please do. And thank you for the gifts. If I don't thank you individually, I apologize. It's because I run the show on 2 different computers. So I have a chat here, I have a chat here, I have a chat here, and I have a chat here. Okay, so just please understand. All right, but at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will turn on the chat for everybody. Now, let's talk about our topic of the day. Let's talk about investigation, paranormal investigation. And I also have, you guys can't really see it back here, but I have some tools back here and I have some equipment. And I'm going to talk about the equipment that I like. So let's talk about this first, because I know immediately people are going to use the Leviticus, they're going to use Deuteronomy, they're going to say, well, we're doing so evil and we're conjuring spirits and we're doing all this other stuff. There's a lot of people that love to make, I think, judgments on people without knowing all the facts. And so that's concerning to me because, and I talked about this before, the paranormal investigators that I work with are people that are very credible. And I get really upset when people bash paranormal investigators. And I think we got to knock that off. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, yeah, that's right. I mean, because let me tell you why. I know I'm fully aware Leviticus. I'm fully aware Leviticus. Do not turn to mediums or necromancers. Do not seek them out. Leviticus 19 verse 31. I'm familiar with Leviticus chapter 20 verse 6. The person turns to mediums, and I know it. I know it. But here's what you don't know. When you look at the passage, when it's talking about psychics and mediums and soothsayers and necromancers, that is not what paranormal investigators do. And I think people need to understand this. We're talking about thousands and thousands of years. It is not even the same culture that it is today. So a paranormal investigator today is not the same as a paranormal investigator 3,000 years ago, folks. It was talking about people who were pagans, who would summon up demons, who would conjure up demons that would control the loved ones in the afterlife unless you offered a certain amount of shekels to that demon or to that pagan god. And if you didn't, then that pagan god would punish your loved one for eternity. See, this is the problem. And that, by the way, for the people, I've never heard of that. I studied that, and I actually learned that in the Roman Catholic Church in the seminary, in graduate school. So when it was referring to psychics and mediums and necromancers, and matter of fact, there was even a religion, or a community that even sacrificed their first child to a particular demonic entity. That's why it says you should not throw your child into the fire. It was referring to that practice. So what it was referring to, there was paganism that were intermingling in with the Hebrew culture, with the Israelites. And what would happen is a person would say, I have 15 gods. So there's 15 different gods, a god of rain, a god of sun, a god of moon, a god of whatever. And you have to offer a certain amount of shekels for each god in order for your loved one not to be tortured or punished in Hades or Sheol. And so you would offer 10 shekels for each of the gods. Then your loved one, another loved one would pass away 6 months later. You'd have to go to that intermediary and you say, okay, I'm going to offer 10 shekels. And the person says, oh no, now we have 30 gods. And by the way, it's 20 shekels. 10 shekels doesn't get it anymore. See, this is what was going on. And they would say, if you don't offer the 20 shekels for each of the gods, that god will raise your loved one up from the dead. That's necromancy, and punish them forever in eternity. This is what it was referring to. So if you don't understand the reason to why passages in scripture were written, and then you judge a group of people based on, unfortunately, information that's incorrect, then it looks foolish. So let me just talk about, in the Witch of Endor, the Endor, I've talked about that before as well. I mean, it's interesting how, a very particular individual would go to the Witch of Endor. And of course, some people are saying, well, he was just demonically possessed. No. Folks, here's the deal. Paranormal investigators that I work with are amazing human beings. Amazing. And the paranormal investigators that I work with, they are credible, and they are doctors, they are lawyers, there is a psychologist, police officers, military. So these are people from all walks of life, and they don't think everything is a demon. So for those people who constantly are attacking paranormal investigators, then this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to call you in the middle of the night at 3:00 in the morning, and I'm going to tell you that a family is begging me to come to Florida. And if you're located in Florida, then I'll call you at 3:00 in the morning and say, okay, I need you to buy a bunch of equipment that costs thousands of dollars. And then I need you to drive 6 or 7 hours to this family's home, whom you don't even know. Do an investigation that could take 8 hours. Review all the evidence that could take another 8 to 10 hours. Gather all the evidence and then present it to me. And by the way, you can't charge a penny. You don't charge a dime. I wonder how many people who attack paranormal investigators and say that we're doing the work of Satan, I wonder how many of those people would actually say, okay, I'll take you up on that offer. See, they don't. They don't. But they love to judge paranormal investigators, the very same people who are willing to go to people's homes whom they don't even know. They don't owe these people anything. And yet they're willing to drive to that person's home and try to debunk and explain the activity. And if they can't, then they get clergy involved. See, that's the paranormal investigators that I work with. And I'm really troubled. I think it's just insulting when people are constantly attacking paranormal investigators who are trying to help families. And yet those people who are attacking paranormal investigators, they never lift a finger. Never lift a finger to help the families who are going through extreme hauntings. Never lift a finger, but they'll offer the criticism. You see, so this is why I don't tolerate people attacking paranormal investigators. I just don't. Again, Daniel, it was talking about. I just talked about that. It was talking about intermediaries that were using the multiple gods, and then they were basically they were demanding that you give more money. It was a fraud. It was a scam. So I just explained that. So anyway, paranormal investigators, I think the people who do this and who truly help individuals, this is a beautiful ministry that they do. And I appreciate them very, very much. Yeah, Daniel, a lot of people, Daniel, I encourage you to go back and to watch it after the presentation is over. But a lot of people do this. They use the Old Testament, by the way, which is the Holiness Code. We're not under the Holiness Code anymore. Stop using the Holiness Code to judge people. There are 613 laws in the Holiness Code. You can't use one of the laws and judge a group of people, and yet you yourself are not following all 613 laws. So if you're going to hold people to an account to the Holiness Code, then you yourself must follow it as well. But we're not under the old law. We're not under the old covenant. So yeah, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. But I think it's a lack of pastors are not properly, and I wasn't going to talk about this, but this is what God is putting on my heart, so I'm doing it. But I think it's a lack of education because there was a lot of fraud, and there was a lot of intermingling with the pagan, with the Hebrew culture, and they were fighting this. I mean, they were trying to create a monotheistic faith. And you have polytheism mingled into the society, saying, hey, look, we have all these different gods. And if you don't give each of these gods a certain amount of shekels, that God is going to raise your loved one up. That's a necromancy. And they're going to torture them for eternity. So it was fraud. But their understanding of a psychic and medium is not the same understanding of a psychic medium as we know today. The terminology is completely different. So if you want to paranormal investigate, this show is for you. If you want to learn a little bit about it, this show is for you. But I'm also going to tell you some things that I don't like about paranormal investigations and things that I think that you can do that's safe. So let me just say this, and let me make this very, very clear. Paranormal investigating is dangerous. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Nothing. I'm not going to sugarcoat that when you go out and you investigate, you are absolutely opening yourself up. Especially the people that I work with, because I work with investigators who are being called out on very dangerous cases. Well, you shouldn't do that, Bishop Long. Well, you know what? I'm not Donald Trump. I don't have a private jet. And I'm not a multimillionaire. And I can't just get on my private jet and hop to Florida and New York and California and all these other places and not charge. So I don't charge. I don't charge at all. Never charged over 2 decades. So you can't have it both ways. If you don't want me to charge, fine, I never will, never have. But then you can't also expect me to be able to hop on a private jet and go into all these different locations when people are begging me to get there. So what do? I have to work with paranormal teams in that area. So they go out and investigate and they can tell me what's going on. And then if it is demonic, then I try to do some fundraising so I can get to that location, but still never charging a penny. So that's what I do. So paranormal investigations, if the teams know that when you work with us, you could put yourself into some serious trouble. So I'm going to tell you this. Leave the places that are known to have demonic infestation. Leave them alone. Leave those places alone. Do not mess with them. Stay away from them. And for those of you in TikTok, please do me a favor and keep liking as much as you can and share this live so that we can get it out so that people can watch this, because people are always asking me about paranormal investigating constantly. So this is why I did this show, to devote a whole hour or hour and a half, whatever, to this, so that we can talk about what you should and what you should not do. Thank you very much. Okay, so stay away from demonic places. Nothing. Let me just say this. I'm an exorcist. And I have performed 31 exorcisms. I don't go to those locations. That should give you a little hint. I do not go out and investigate places that are known to be demonic. I don't do it. There's no reason for me to do it because I know the dangers that come with doing that. Now, if there is a case where obviously I need to be there, then I go. But I don't purposely put myself in a situation that's dangerous. That doesn't make sense. And I think people want to go to these demonic cases because they want to see if it's real. Well, folks, here's the deal, and I'm going to be blunt here. You can surround yourself with white light all day long. But the moment you go into a location and you know that there's a demonic that's present, or there have been reports that the demonic present, you are giving an invitation. You can't have it both ways. So my strong advice for anybody who are just certainly starting out, stay away from locations that are known to have malevolent beings. Just stay away from it. There's nothing good that comes from it. So if you're a paranormal or you're just learning, this is what, Judy Ann says, I'm scared just talking about this. Folks, honest to God, here's what you need to understand. You go to a location and it is reported to have demonic infestation or demonic issues, and you have an attachment, please understand this is not a quick fix situation. This could take months. It could take years to cleanse something like that. And this is not something that just happens overnight. And I think people have this perception that, well, if I have a demonic infestation or demonic attachment, I can call clergy, they can come over and they just banish it and it goes away. Sometimes it works that way, but not all the time. Not all the time. I worked with a lady who, for 3 years, that was an incubus and succubus case. It was very violent. So if you're interested in paranormal investigating, this is what I want you to do. Research the field. Begin by conducting really some serious research on investigations. Learn about the different types of the paranormal phenomena. That's very important. The investigative techniques, equipment used, and the history, and even the current fields of this the current trends. Look, the first time I investigated was 35 years ago. 35. And that was at Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky. And let me tell you what happened. So for those of you who don't know, so Waverly Hills is this big, it's abandoned now, but it's not technically abandoned. It's owned, and they do tours and things of this nature. But it was a psychiatric hospital. It was also a TB hospital. And a lot of bad things happened in that location. And so the previous owner, before the current owners, when I was 35 years ago, they didn't care. They let anybody in, and people went up there and trashed it. And it was terrible what they did. So me and a buddy, we decided to go check it out because we'd always heard about it. Because I live in Louisville, so Louisville, Kentucky, Waverly Hills. So we went into the basement area, into the first floor, and I remember seeing file cabinets and paper everywhere, and it was paper of files of patients. So I remember picking up and reading, the whole files of patients. I thought that's kind of odd. And then there was an old rusty wheelchair that was on its side, and the wheels wouldn't move. It was rusty. And we kept hearing this, like a crying. And we thought, well, that's kind of weird. Where's this crying coming from? And if you've ever been to Waverly, the hallways echo. And so we went upstairs, and it got louder. And so we walked down this hall, and the crying got louder. So we got to a bathroom, and this had metal stalls in it. And I went into the bathroom, and I opened the first stall. I mean, this is like right out of the movie. I opened the first stall, and nothing there. And the second, nothing. And the third stall, I opened, and I was trying to open it. It was locked, and it like someone took a sledgehammer, and they hit the side of it as hard as they could. I mean, the whole entire thing shook. And it sounded like to me like a kid crying. And after they hit that, we took off, and we ran right down the stairs, and we saw that wheelchair, and that the wheels were just spinning. But prior to us going up there, we tried to move it, and the wheels weren't spinning at all. But we came down those stairs, the wheel was spinning on itself, and we said, no, we're done. Now, there's a lot of people who have experience at Waverly Hills. I've never had like a demonic, never felt like a demonic that was present, but that day was certainly quite evil. And remember, okay, if someone passes away under the stage of possession, the demonic possesses the body. They do not possess the soul. And so if a person expires during an exorcism or possession, that doesn't mean that the soul is possessed. So paranormal investigation that in the field explores unexplained phenomena outside the realm of conventional scientific understanding. And so you have to familiarize yourself with general concepts of paranormal investigating. Read introductory books, but also read books from people who actually are in the field. Okay, so do some research. There's a lot of people who will who write books on it, but yet you find out that they've never ever investigated a case. And I'm telling you, this is a lot. A lot of people are writing books on demonology, and they've never had any formal training at all in demonology at all. They've had no training in theology, and they've had no cases that were truly demonic. But yet they write books on demonology. And you're thinking, how many cases have you had? And you find out none. So what I would encourage you to do is read books from people who are credible. Because here's what's happening now in the paranormal community. Now people are saying, well, I've been in the field for 40 years. And they're 42 years old. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's crazy. But that's what they're doing. And they do that to try to establish credibility. Look, I started over 2 decades being as clergy within the paranormal community. Father Andrew Calder, who was a friend of mine, was an Episcopalian priest. He was not. He did not like taking cases possession. That was not his calling. He didn't mind doing demonic cases of infestation. But when it comes to possession, he was very uncomfortable with that. So Andy was a friend of mine. He's passed away, but he was the only clergy. There was no Catholic clergy helping the paranormal community then. None. I was there, and we used to communicate through Yahoo groups. Far before Facebook, before MySpace, that's how we communicated, Yahoo groups. So I know who was there. And I was the very first Catholic clergy to go public with my ministry within the paranormal community. But then, and now you're having, people saying, well, I've been there for 40 years and performing exorcism. That's simply not true. It's just not true. There's a term called parapsychology. And a lot of people kind of debate that. But parapsychology is a scientific study of paranormal phenomena that investigates psychic abilities, ESP, psychokinesis, other topics as well. So, and I would also, you might want to research other types of paranormal phenomena that interest you. Ghostly apparitions, poltergeist activity, UFO sightings, near-death experiences. These are all very important to have at least some type of understanding. Now, poltergeist, let me tell you this very clearly. Poltergeist means noisy ghost. It is not a ghost at all. Poltergeist is energy. It is negative energy that an individual is omitting, or individuals. Yes, I knew Lorraine Warren. I was friends with Lorraine, and I'm friends with John Zaffis. Lorraine was a friend of mine. I did not know Ed. So this is very important. Poltergeist, I can perform 1 million minor rite of exorcisms on a home that has poltergeist. It does nothing. It won't do anything because it's not a ghost. It's not a demon. It is energy. You walk down the street, someone is walking towards you. You don't know the person. They're omitting negative energy. You know, I don't want to be around that person. You move away. It's all energy. Now, it mimics demonology or demonic cases. But certainly a demon does not need poltergeist activity to manifest. Just simply don't need that. Now, also, I would encourage you to also do some research on skeptical perspectives, because skepticism is okay. And look at skepticism, but there's a difference between skeptical and cynical. So I'm a skeptic. I have to be, because everybody, if I believe that every single person who is possessed, then I would believe 16,200 and, well, you guys can't see it, 16,282 people are possessed. And that's now, I think, 5 or 6 days. That's just in my email from people, from my ministry email, people who are requesting my help. So I'm very skeptical. So when I go into a location, and if you tell me that a TV flew across the room, if you're a paranormal investigator, you must be analytical. You must look at the facts. Don't, oh my gosh, this could be demons. This could be demons. And if you go in there with that preconceived notion that it's demons, then you could you could just taint the entire investigation. So when you are going in there, you're going in there to observe, to gather the evidence, to criticize. And of course, obviously you have the critical thinking and to hopefully debunk. But if you tell me that a TV flew across the television or across the room, that's great. But unless I see it, I'm not going to believe it. It's really funny. It's really funny that people have told me through the years, oh yeah, all hell breaks loose and this happens and this happened and bangings and everything. And I'll walk into the room and nothing happens. I'm like, wait a minute. This is when I first started in the ministry. I said, no, wait, what happened to all this? I thought you said everything, it was all hell was breaking loose, and I walk in and nothing happens. Oh, the demon must be hiding. The demon can't hide because I'm provoking through prayer. I'm forcing the entity to manifest itself. But now all of a sudden I show up and nothing happens. You see, this is one of those things where people sometimes they want your attention, and that really, really happened after I did Ghost Adventures. Because after I did Ghost Adventures and that aired online with Bobby Mackey's, people were calling me left and right because they wanted to talk about Ghost Adventures. So I would show up and to a home 9 hours away, and people swore that all hell was breaking loose, and I showed up in their home. So tell me more about Zach. I'm not here to talk about Zach. I'm here to talk about why you think there's a demonic that's present in your home. Oh yeah, well, sometimes it gets bad, but was it really scary at Bobby Mackey's? And that's that has happened to me so many times. That's why now I work with paranormal teams and say, look, you're in the area, please go to the home. Also, look at the sources that you read and read them critically. Don't just immediately say, well, okay, I'm going to believe it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to say, well, just ridiculous, but just look at it, analyze it, and use your own common sense. I will tell you this. Most of the time, you can explain what's going on in a case that's allegedly paranormal. So let me tell you a couple things that I think you should bring that are very, very important. And I'll get to your questions in a minute, guys. But here's some things you should absolutely bring. And I'm going to talk about some items that I have back here too. One, common sense flashlight. You would think this is common sense, but you would be surprised how many people forget to bring a flashlight. Also, you need to remember to bring extra batteries. And I would encourage you not to always keep the batteries on your body. Sometimes you might want to put the batteries away from you, and here's why. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone into a location and there was activity and the batteries were drained just like that. Any paranormal investigator will tell you that's happened to them many times. And this happens quite often. So you have to make sure you have a flashlight. That's common sense. But make sure you also have plenty of batteries that are backed up. Have batteries on you, but also have extra batteries like in your car that are away from you. Thank you, JMP. That are away from you, because then those batteries should not be drained. But this happens a lot. Battery draining happens a lot. I also like this little thing. This is like a torch light. So the batteries are pretty low on this one, as a matter of fact. And I was doing a case, and these batteries have been completely drained within. Matter of fact, I used this at the Gates of Hell when I went there, and the Gates of Hell Cemetery. That's a crazy thing. And this takes a lot of batteries. So these are these are brand new batteries. And so I went to the Gates of Hell Cemetery, and these are energizers, and this is brand new. I brought them just in case if God forbid, if, car broke down or whatever, and I'm stuck there because there's no street lights or anything. And I went there, and now it's dead. I mean, that's it. This should be really ultra bright, but that's how fast. I mean, the batteries will drain within seconds. Also, I would encourage you to bring a pen and notebook. And I know that sounds silly too, but log down everything that you can think. If you heard a noise, log it down and the time. That will help you, especially when you're doing EVP work. EVP, I'm telling you guys, that we'll talk about electronic voice phenomenon in just a second. But I encourage you to have some type of pen, because if you hear a noise and you're doing EVP work, if you have 338 noise, then you can go back and you can listen to that, or it just makes life much easier, especially if you're recording it. If you're with the phone or something of this nature, it just makes life easier. Thank you very much. So pen and paper is a good idea. Smartphone, I would encourage you to bring a smartphone for common reasons. Now, there are a lot of apps on smartphones. I'm going to be real blunt. Most of these apps are junk. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be insulting, but I have been to a lot of places, and there's a lot of them that are just junk. And for entertainment, I mean, and they say that for entertainment reasons. There are a couple apps that I do like, and I don't mind talking about a couple of them. iOvilus is one. So this is one of the apps. Now, what's interesting about this, and I'll show you this in a minute, I have the original Ovilus, the original, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. It looks just like this, but that's kind of like one of the holy grails. You can't ever find those. The Miracle Box is not bad. So this is the Miracle Box here, but you have to. I've gotten some pretty good, I think, results from that. The Spiritus, I can't bring you on. I'm sorry, I can't bring you on, because I run the show on two different computers and they won't be able to hear you. I run the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, KGRDB radio, on Spreaker, and they won't be able to see or hear you. So this is what the Spiritus box looks. That's what this looks like here. And that, of course, I'm not really fond of some of the artwork, but nonetheless, some people swear by that. There's a couple other ones. A camera, obviously on your smartphone, that makes sense. Make sure you have a decent camera. I personally like also a Polaroid, and I also like the digital cameras. So you can use your phone, certainly, but I like Polaroids too. The reason I like the Polaroids is because you can't fake that. See, with all the digital camera stuff, there are so many apps that you can superimpose a ghostly figure and say, look what I caught, everybody, look what I caught. There are so many apps now that you can do that it's so easy to fake. But you really can't fake a Polaroid. I mean, that's just one of those things you can't do. I would also encourage you that if it's a big place like Waverly Hills or some places like kind of a bigger place, you need two-way radios. You need some way to communicate with other people. That's only obviously for security reasons. And also if someone falls or gets hurt or gets pushed or scratched or something of this nature. And it's also to let people know, hey, I got some really crazy evidence here. And you can obviously connect with one another that way. Your digital audio recorder. Okay. I have several of these. Zach on Ghost Avengers, I've talked to him many times about his the kinds that he likes. He likes the Sony IC recorder. He likes the ICD B. There's a B16 and a B26. So this is what he likes. I have gotten some really amazing EVPs. Yeah, Necrophonic is okay. It's very similar to the Spiritus. But these are real. Here, let me tell you something. Of all the equipment that you can use, this is a must-have. Absolutely must-have. A digital recorder. They are. I have caught so many amazing EVPs. EVP stands for electronic voice phenomena. So you pick up someone speaking, and no one is there. But he likes the B16. I also the B26 is very similar. So again, for those of you, it's Sony IC recorder, ICD B26 and B16. Zach swears by them. But I have caught some pretty amazing EVPs with that. I will say that. EVPs are like this. Let me play an EVP real quick. So for those of you who don't know what that is, like what an EVP is. So, okay. Oh, hold on. Trying to get this to connect. There we go. So let me just play this. This is got it. Okay. This is I think one of my favorite digital recorders. This is the Olympus. This actually was the one at Bobby Mackey's, and the reason is it broke is because when I was doing an EVP session in the back where we heard the growl, I got almost like felt like a flamethrower was right here on my hand, and I dropped it and broke it. So this is the actual recorder that I used at Bobby Mackey's on Ghost Adventures. But the reason is I love this so much is because it pops out and it goes at a thumb drive. You can put it right in the computer. So this is why I really like this. And I've caught some amazing EVPs with this recorder. It's the Olympus WS100. So I encourage you. I just love the fact that it's so easy to put it right into your computer and then download it. Yeah, a WS100. Yep. The Olympus WS100. Phenomenal. I really, honest to God, I love the fact that they have that. So I would encourage you, if you want to do any type of paranormal investigating, you might want to definitely pick yourself up that. Now, there are more expensive recorders, and I'll show you the ones that I like. Here's another Olympus. I really haven't had great results with this one, though. And so I can't really encourage you to buy. I mean, it's not bad, but I certainly wouldn't. I don't think it's better than the WS100 in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So that's just my opinion. Now, this is the Zoom, the H2, I believe it is. Yeah, H2. This is a great recorder, but I'm going to give you a heads up right now. This picks up everything. I mean, it's amazing. This really is a very, very sensitive microphone. And so you have to be incredibly careful with when you're doing EVPs. And I'll talk about that in a second. So this is phenomenal. This is a Zoom H2. And also the other recorder, which is very, very good, is the Tascam, the DR05. So I've gotten some pretty amazing recordings with this. And of course on this as well. But now the one, let me see what film. The one was, this is what I got with the Olympus one that I talked about. This is what an EVP is. So I was at Eastern Cemetery, and I just at Eastern Cemetery was terrible what they did. The caretaker had buried people on top of one another, and then charging people for that. But I was walking through one of the locations, and I said, "Do you know who I am?" Because I wanted to see if there was any type of response. And this is the response that I got. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? Okay, so it says Seth, S-E-T-H. Now, I don't know who Seth is. But here's what's amazing about that. I was by myself. There was no one around me, not even close. So when you catch an EVP like that, that just validates something was there. Now, you can argue that was demonic. You can argue that was human spirit. The fact of the matter is I know something was there based on this recording. Yeah, Seth, S-E-T-H. Now, also, on the same recorder, this one, the Olympus, the WS100. Is it 100? Yeah, the WS100. This is also the same recording that I heard the growl at the Gates of Hell Cemetery. And here with this, let me share what this is. This is what the growl is. Is there anyone here? Are you friendly? Okay, so that was the Gates of Hell Cemetery that I did the documentary on, which, by the way, that documentary is up and running. It's on my YouTube channel, so you can go there. It's free. And so that is that's the growl. Now that is an EVP. So the EVP, I did not hear it. If you actually hear the sound, it's called a disembodied voice. So many times I have heard disembodied voices, which is kind of intimidating, because when you know that there's no one around and you hear someone say, "Hey," or you hear a growl or something, when you have that experience, and you can also, back it up. Now, there's also noise interference. So when you do EVP work, you have to make sure that everyone is quiet and that you don't have any interference, because if, let's say you're at a location and there are people outside talking, or there are kids playing, or whatever it might be, you need to make a note of that. So you, in the beginning, you say, okay, I'm doing EVP session number 1. There are kids playing across the street and they're screaming. They're being kids, they're playing. So you have to always keep that in mind. Otherwise you have interference, and then the evidence is just not valid. Okay, headphones is, I would encourage you. Now I do have a digital recorder where you can actually hear it live. So in other words, when you're doing EVP work, see on those, you don't have a headset. So I just say, okay, is anyone here? And this is how you would do it. You have the recorder and you ask questions. It's best to say yes or no questions, because if you're having this big, long question and you want the whatever it is, they're giving you this dissertation, it doesn't work that way. So just, is there anyone here? And you wait a couple seconds. What is your name? Are you friendly? Do you confess Jesus is your Lord and Savior? The reason is I did that is because I was at a case one time and I said, do you confess Jesus was your Lord and Savior? And the response very clearly was, hell no. So obviously that was a demonic case. I knew what I was dealing with, but I knew what I was dealing with prior to that. So headphones is something that's really important, especially if you have a digital recorder where you could actually listen to it live. But that's dangerous because that's immediate interaction with something you don't know who you're interacting with. See, with EVP work, many times you just say, okay, what's your name? You wait for a little bit. Are you okay? Are you sad? Are you angry? Whatever. And don't scream. You don't need to scream. I mean, the ghosts are not deaf. So there's no reason to scream. Now, people always say there's no such thing as ghosts. Well, I would tell you you're incorrect. 100% incorrect. Because I actually am coming from a perspective of somebody who's worked cases. So I work them. I know for a fact that, yes, their human spirits absolutely 100% do exist. And not everything is demonic. And I'm telling you that not everything is demonic. There are people that's going to say every single thing, every haunting is that is not right. They're giving you something based on what? Their opinion? Well, if they've never investigated a case, then how are they making that claim? So I'm telling you, I'm coming from a perspective, I actually work the cases. And remember, even the Bible talks about ghosts. So in Luke chapter 24, verse 36 through 51. And remember when they talked about Jesus, what happened to Jesus, and they were terrified, and he showed up and they were scared, and they said, it's a ghost. And Jesus said, touch and see, ghosts do not have flesh as you see that I have. And first of all, when he was walking on water in Matthew chapter 14, when he was walking on the sea, obviously, and they were terrified. It says when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. It's a ghost. Now people will say, well, they meant demon. No. You can't. Now people are stretching. So I absolutely am convinced that ghosts do exist. Human spirits exist for a variety of reasons. But I also think they exist because heaven is not forced upon us. Heaven is presented to us. So I am telling you as clergy and also as a paranormal investigator, not everything is demonic. It's just not. No matter what anyone tells you. I know people are going to tell you differently, but I would also encourage you, and this is really important, if you're going to do EMF reading, then you need to make sure you do a baseline reading first before you start investigating. Here's what I mean by that. EMF means electromagnetic field. It's like a device, and it picks up any type of energy that could be like wiring. And the reason is that's very important because the theory is that these readers are able to pick up on this energy that's manifested. And a lot of EMF, there's a lot of people that love EMF readers. But you do a baseline reading first. You also do a temperature gauge baseline reading first. So what you go to every single room and you move with any type of wiring, any type of electrical outlet, because many times when people have said, okay, I feel like when I go to this one particular room, I feel like I'm going to get sick. I feel like something is watching me. I get a headache. I'm nauseous, whatever it might be. Many times in those locations, when you do an EMF reading, you will find that the EMF is very high. And high EMF readings can cause sickness, headaches, nausea. It can cause those things. And many times it's exposed wiring. Also cell towers can give off high EMF readings. So do EMF readings first. Before you even begin investigating, make sure you gauge it. Make sure you write down, 8 o'clock, whatever it was, whatever it read. The same thing for temperatures. You also need to keep in mind that when you're doing temperature change or when you're doing the baseline reading the temperatures, it's best to have the air conditioning either turned off or at least know that, okay, it's coming on, it's cyclical. So you have to understand that sometimes if the air conditioner is off and it's reading 70 degrees, and then the air conditioner kicks on, it's reading 65 degrees. Well, it's probably because the air conditioner kicked on. So you have to keep that in mind when you're doing baseline readings. This is very good. I like this one. This one is the ghost meter. And this is an EMF gauge, basically. It's a pretty cool. This has been really, really cool. I have had good luck with this. And it's real simple. That's it. Just turn it on. And the meter here will jump all the way over here when there's high EMF. And it could be a variety of things. I mean, like electronic things, or like it's going off here with your cell phone. See that? That's high EMF. And that's how it works. So if you have electrical outlets, you have batteries. See? That's how it reads. And because there's batteries there. So you need to make sure you're checking everything with this and get your baseline reading first. The reason you do that is because when you start the investigation and then you have a huge EMF spike and you have a baseline reading prior to beginning the investigation, you can say, okay, this is an anomaly. So this is a really good one. This is the ghost meter is what they call it. Okay. Another really, really good tool. I encourage you got to have one of these. This is the digital temperature gauge. And this is the one that I use if I ever do investigations. I did an investigation once, and I've talked about this before. There was a family that was having paranormal activity in their home, but it wasn't violent. So they had no air conditioning. The air conditioning was broke, and it was like 95 degrees, I think. I can't remember, 95, 90, but it was 95 degrees in the house. And I got to, wait a minute. Verified, could not load image, refresh to try again, refresh. Okay, for those of you who are on TikTok, this is not letting me to do the puzzle, so I may have to restart my, because they're having some stupid problems on technology. Okay, here's the deal. TikTokers, the live is going to end in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So I might have to stop and restart it, because what happens is after an hour, you have to do a puzzle. Just move the puzzle. And if it doesn't, then, yep, it's not letting me refresh. It won't let me refresh it. Well, that's stupid. Yeah, hold on, folks. I got to fix this problem because this is a major headache. Okay. Almost did it. Yeah, the IT, that's scary stuff, isn't it? They had all these IT problems. And so, yep, I'm going to have to, yep, it's not letting me do it. So TikTok, I have to turn this off and I have to restart it. So you got to come back to my live. I'll restart it in the next 30 seconds or so. Well, oh, stupid. All right, I got to restart. Dumb. I don't know. So let me restart this. That's annoying. Okay, resume. There we go. So hopefully we got it. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see if it works. But anyway, right. Jesus even mentions ghosts in the Bible, and Jesus said, "I'm not a ghost. Ghosts do not have flesh and bones, as you see that I have." Obviously, that implies that ghosts have something, but they don't have that. So. But anyway, I would encourage you to have this. So I was telling the story about, it was 95 degrees in this house. The air conditioner was completely broken. We began to do a prayer of absolution, and for the intercession for that person's guardian angels to help them. And we all felt this breeze right at the bottom of our feet, moving up. And then I did the temperature. It was 65 degrees, 60 degrees. I can't remember. It was a 30-degree difference. And the air conditioner was not working. And then it just lifted. I mean, this breeze just lifted. And it was quite beautiful. It was really, really powerful. It was a powerful experience. Thank you very much. So I thought this is you must have this. Because I've gotten some amazing, I even have had situations where there was a spirit there. It was not demonic, and maybe it was 80 degrees. And then I would ask, can you take it down to 75? And it would take it down to 75. Can you take it down to 72? It would take it down to 72 and 70 and so on. And so I'm telling you, this has worked great. So this is a must-have, as well as the temperature gauge. A lot of people are using these things now. So, and they're very inexpensive. So basically, it's a motion activated. It's a cat ball. It's it lights up, and so if it moves, it lights. And so people will put this down on like the ground, and if it moves in any way, shape, form, or fashion, the battery's dead, but it'll light up on you. So a lot of people have used that, but you got to be careful with that because drafts, it's not very heavy, and drafts could easily push this. So you got to be careful about that, making sure that there is no draft at all. This is the Holy Grail for many people in the paranormal world, because it's very, very difficult to get your hands on one of these. This it just shows you how long I've been in the paranormal community. This is an original Ovilus, first one. And this thing, I'm telling you, I get pretty amazing evidence with this. It doesn't. The belief is that whatever that's there can come through, and names and things of this nature is not programmed into this. So if you get like a certain name, well, you kind of pay attention to that, or sentences. Sentences are not programmed to this. And I use this at Bobby Mackey's, but it's pretty simple. You turn it on. You can put it in any kind of mode. There's dictionary mode. There's dictionary mode. Well, it's saying something. It's very hard to pick. Relax. Music. So it's just, I'm not going to do it because I don't like to investigate in this location. But this is really, really cool. This is a very cool device. You have to kind of get used to it. And this is not the louder speaker, but when you connect the speaker to this, there's a lot of amazing. I use this at Bobby Mackey's, and several things. We caught some pretty amazing evidence with that. So this is like, again, if someone who has this, this is because we've been in the paranormal field for a long, long, long time. And but it is true. It is true. And a lot of people love. Yep. Bill Chappell. Yep, Bill Chappell made that one. And of course, this one here is called the REM pod. Now, many people love the REM pod. It is Tommy Golden, our abbot, gifted this to me, and it's very cool. You'll see a lot of this in the paranormal shows. The REM pod is believed to collect, if there's any type of interference or energy that comes near this, it will pick this up. It doesn't just randomly go off just because. Something causes it to trigger it. And many people think it is the energy, whatever energy or that's being manifested. And it's pretty simple. Of course, there's a lot of energy going off because all this electrical equipment. But if you push this further and further away from all the electric equipment, then it just dies down. But this is what it'll do. It'll make that really, really loud noise. And you can change, but a lot of people like this. Okay. So it's going crazy because there's so many electronic devices. And a friend of mine gifted me this. I have not used this. I have not had the opportunity, but I believe this is the Ovilus 5. And I got to figure out how to use this. So a friend of mine, so I'm going to have to do some research on this because I haven't. What I like about this is it does read out what it says, and that's pretty cool. So I'll have to take this to a location and see. Basically, you just do this, and is there anyone here? What is your name? And you wait to respond, and of course there's nothing. Well, there's something because I touched it, obviously. Branches shepherd. Limp across. See, that's what it does. And so if you ask questions and the question is logical, how old are you? So I don't like to, I'm not a fan of investigating in my home. So we'll turn this off because we're not going to do that. So anyway, that's this. Okay. And of course there's other things as well. There's other devices you can have. Now, this, let's talk a little bit about this. because I think it's important to discuss this a little bit more. This is from the manufacturer itself. The EMF, the ghost meter, it's been collaborated to actually ignore the extremely subtle EMF emissions surrounding the human body, but it's still sensitive enough to detect the small, distinct, erratic EMF energy fluctuations frequently found at reputed haunted locations. So the ghost meter provides 3 corroborating indicators of EMF emission strength. A needle, which we see here, that's a base display, LED lights, and an adjustable audio signal. The response time of this meter is excellent, easily outperforming more expensive EMF readings, and I kind of agree with that. It can also be operated in silent mode, so it doesn't interfere with EVP work. Very smart. Or distract other investigators during an investigation. So that's basically what this is. And this, I've had a pretty amazing results from that, especially at the Gates of Hell Cemetery. The Gates of Hell is just not a good place at all. I just a terrible thing. I'm the shepherd. Yeah. Now the thermal camera. Some people swear by the thermal camera, and many, many years ago, when it first came out, the thermal camera was the thing to get. I mean but it also cost like $10,000. It was really expensive when it first came out. Really unbelievably expensive. It's still pricey. And I remember a buddy of mine, he was like, "Oh, I got a thermal camera and I'm going to do this." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. Okay, whatever." So we went to a location and he bought a $10,000 thermal camera. And I had like a $20 digital recorder. So as soon as he came in, the battery, bam, gone. History. So he got another battery. He put it back in there. Okay, we're gonna get this. And I told him, I said, "You got to be careful because the batteries are going to be drained." "Oh, yeah, I got plenty." Drained again. Ultimately, that $10,000 thermal camera sat in the bag outside in his car because the battery kept draining. So it was completely useless in that situation. Completely and totally useless. But that's what happens. Now, this is some interesting things. This is a one... I've never seen anything like this because it's a one of a kind. It's a one of a kind item that a friend of mine made this. There are what's called negative ions and positive ions. This is an ionizer. Now, there are ionizers that you can buy now that releases negative ions. Negative ions are energy. So these are molecules. And the theory is a spirit that is trying to manifest does not have enough energy to move something or push something. So you release negative ions into the atmosphere, and these molecules, these energy, is then absorbed by a spirit, and it's able to push, it's able to move things, it's able to interact. I've gotten actually some pretty amazing evidence with this. Whereas before, we went to a location, nothing happened. There was nothing there. It was just completely dead, nothing. And then we used the negative ionizer, and the activity just kind of exploded. So, right, yeah, ionizers, you can get a negative ionizer, yeah. But this was a one of a kind situation. So it was amazing many years ago. So let's talk a little bit about terms to help you guys out. And I did promise I'm going to open up the chat there, so everybody just be kind, just be nice on TikTok. There's no reason to be nasty, because if you're nasty, if you're going to be nasty on TikTok, I'm just going to put sub chat only on again. So that's just because we don't deal with that silliness. So let's talk a little bit about the terminology you need to know as a paranormal investigator. So apparition. That is a visual representation of a disembodied entity. Now, there are full body apparitions. Full body apparitions are rare. Although they do occur, they are still rare. So they're really, really cool. If something is there, you will, especially if it's demonic. Yeah, because if there is a demonic that is present, I'm going, because I force, the entity to manifest itself, and through provocation. This is why provocation is very dangerous, because when I have provoking is not, is there anybody here? I dare you to do something. I dare you to push me. I dare you to, okay, so please understand that's not provoking. What you're doing is inviting. So those are not the same thing. So when you go and you say, come on, I dare you to do something, that's invitation. Provocation is when you begin to pray, when you begin using the sacramentals of the church. That is provocation. And you need to be very careful about that, because if you're going to provoke and you get a response, what are you going to do? I mean, what are you going to do if you get the response? And so I would encourage you not to push around, not to mess around with that, because you can really get yourself into some serious trouble. I was trying to, I guess I'll take a picture of it. Don't really like doing it that way, but that's okay. Let me show you guys something. Okay. This here, let me show you. When you're taking pictures, let me move this over here so I can see. Hold on. Okay. This is not a demon. This is not a ghost. When you're taking a picture and there is any type of glass at all, any type of reflective substance, if you see something like that, that's called a lens flare. This is not a ghost. It's not a demon. It's lens flare. Now notice all the glass that's there. That's all that's doing it. So the flash from the camera causes this lens flare. That's all it is. It's not anything to be worried about. It's not anything to, oh my gosh, there's demons. No, it's a lens flare. This one here, this one is bugs. Folks, please stop with the orbs. Okay, most people, honest to God, most paranormal investigators, when you mention orbs, we roll our eyes. Oh, it's an orb. It's an orb. Oh. This here, that's not a spirit. That's not a demon. That right there, you see this? You're dealing with dust, moisture, or bugs. That's what you're dealing with. I've talked about this before. There was this clown, and he is a clown, and he runs around. He holds up the cross, and he goes around performing what he says an exorcism. Well, let me tell you what he does. So it's late at night. He walks through the bushes. Someone is behind him with a camera, and then all these orbs are flying everywhere, and people are like, oh my gosh, look at all those demons. So he basically says that bugs, that he's kicking up, and he's outside exorcising bugs. It is, folks, it is the most idiotic thing I've ever seen in my life. It truly is. I don't even know how to respond to that. That's what he does. He's actually holding up a cross, throwing holy water around, and kicking up the weeds with a person behind him on a camera. And people are watching, saying, oh, look at all those. Look at all those orbs. Look at all those demons. I cast you out, unclean souls. It's nuts. It is nuts. But that's what they do. That's. I'm telling you, folks. Some people, anything to get likes. Anything to get likes. Here's another thing. But those people are not taken seriously in the paranormal community, because we know that they're just ridiculous showboats. This here is a slow shutter light trail. This happens often on when you're taking pictures. This is not a demon. It's a simple light trail that happens sometimes when you move, and as you're moving or taking a picture, so you'll get easily a light. That's very easily explained. This here also, when people will take this picture and they say, oh my goodness, there's a ghost there. No, it's not a ghost. Because everybody who takes a picture doesn't move. Sometimes we move. This is not a ghost. That's a slow shutter of a person walking. That's it. I see this a lot. And that's kind of ridiculous. And then finally, now this could be a couple of things. And I want to talk about this because we see this a lot. If you get this picture here, see, people think, oh my gosh, that's definitely a spirit. That's definitely spirit. No, it's not. It could be one of two things. 9 times out of 10, it's either hair, or it could also be, especially on a camera. If you have a camera that does night vision and you see something like that, many times what it is, 9 times out of 10, it is cobweb. And the cobweb, it'll start moving. Sometimes it'll have like 3 or 4 dots, in it, and it looks kind of eerie, but it's a cobweb. So that's what it is. Simple, easy explanation, not complicated at all. Okay. So hopefully that answers that question, because a lot of people get confused with that. But an apparition, a full body apparition, is truly rare. So when you see a full body apparition, the theory is that the spirit there is trying to manifest enough energy. Now, many times we will see shadow people. I have been to a lot of cases where I see shadow people and it was not demonic at all. I've also seen shadow people where it was demonic. So unfortunately, there's no conclusive statement, yep, all shadow people are evil. I have not found that to be true at all. As a matter of fact, you can go to Waverly Hills and you can see shadow people all the time in that location, especially when you do an investigation. You can see them all the time. And I've never felt the demonic present there. So shadow people, quite common. The theory is they do not have enough energy to manifest for a full body apparition. And sometimes they do, sometimes they do not. Often what happens too is when you have a human spirit that is present, you'll feel cold spots. Many paranormal, especially seasoned paranormal investigators, will tell you that happens a lot. The belief is that the spirits are drawing energy from the air, the molecules. It leaves a cold spot. Now, sometimes it also does heat. I've been in locations where, especially at Waverly Hills, they don't have air conditioning. And we were walking, me and David Price was walking down the hallway, and it felt like air conditioner was just pushing right on us. Like, what in the world? And it feels like static electricity. Yeah. So you might have cold spots there. There's also now, there's a term called ectoplasm. And it almost sounds like Ghostbusters. But it's a mist. It's associated with paranormal activity. And a lot of people have experienced, I have seen ectoplasm with demonic cases. I have also seen ectoplasm with, well, not so much human spirits, but, it's primarily with demonic and poltergeist. Okay. Entity is an intelligent being. Now, it may not be human. Intelligent haunting is when the spirit that is there is able to communicate, interact with you. So can you take the temperature down to 70 degrees? Can you take it down to 65? And it does it. Can you turn the flashlight on? And it does it. These flashlights, what a lot of people will do is these flashlights, you can get these at Walmart. So you turn them on, but then you just barely move it off like that. Okay. And so when you're at a location, sometimes you have to be real careful. You have to be. So when you're at a location, you can put the flashlight down and say, is there anyone here? Can you please turn on the light? And the light will come on. And then you say, well, can you please turn the light off? And the light will go off. And you don't touch it. You're just watching. But see, the reason is you do that because, see, when you turn it on this way, it's full blast, but you turn it on just to where it just goes barely off like that. And you just make, and it does it. Now people, there we go. And that's how you do it. And see, people say, well, but I mean, you barely just turn it off. And so it could be flickering on and off. That's true. But if you're asking, is there anyone here? Can you please turn on the light? And then the light comes on. Okay, thank you very much. Can you please turn the light off? And the light goes off. That's intelligent. And so that's the difference between the two. Okay, so sometimes that will happen. Manifestation is when it appears. Orbs. Okay, orbs again. Most of the time, orbs are dust particles. They're light. Many people do not take orbs seriously. Now, there are cases where there have been orbs captured that is like, okay, that's pretty interesting because there looks like there's some type of maneuvering that it will go and it will, I've seen an orb land on someone's shoulder, then we will move up and go around the person there, and just like this. And they feel like they're sick. It affects them. So I've seen that before. All right. Again, poltergeist does not mean demonic. All right, what's the difference? Okay. Someone's asking what's the difference between poltergeist and demonic. All right, here's the deal. Poltergeist mimics. Well, thank you very much. That's very pretty. I've never seen. Thank you. Sorry, someone's offering gifts on TikTok. Poltergeist is negative energy that an individual or individuals are omitting. That's what it is. I have had plenty of poltergeist cases. So here's what that means. A family is fighting, or a person is going through extreme emotional stress. It's almost telekinetic. It's almost to the point where that energy, that negative energy, is able to manipulate or attack or attach itself to whatever it might be, like the light bulbs exploding, electrical appliances catching fire. By the way, fire is the number one form of destruction with poltergeist cases. Fire. I've always found that to be true. So either electrical appliances will kind of spark, catch fire, or electrical sockets. Sometimes you can have things being thrown. But the difference between a poltergeist and demonic is, with a poltergeist, a chair is thrown, but it's not thrown at a particular individual. It is just the person who is there who's putting this negative energy. It'll just be thrown, or a cup being thrown, or something of this nature. But there is no target. So poltergeist, think of this. Like I was saying earlier, you're walking down the street, someone's walking towards you. You don't know the person, but they are emitting such negative energy, negative vibe, that you're like, nope, and you walk away. That's energy. We are all energy. Versus someone walks into a room, doesn't have to say a word. Their presence alone, people flock to that person. They may not even know who the person is, but they are emitting such positive energy. People just naturally gravitate to them. That's energy. So poltergeist is negative energy. I can perform 1,000,000 minor rite of exorcisms on a poltergeist case, and it does nothing. Nothing. The difference between a poltergeist and demonic is a poltergeist does not also, religious objects are not desecrated. You're not going to have the smell of sulfur or even flesh. Animals are terrified as well, but those are really, really important elements there. And with a poltergeist, also doesn't tend to attack an individual. It's more negative energy that's manifested. So objects are affected by this, but not individuals. See, individuals that are attacked or scratched or bit or punched or hit. Now you're dealing with oppression, demonic oppression. That's intelligent design behind the act. With a poltergeist, it's random. There is no common sense to the activity. There's no, okay, obviously the cup is being thrown, but not at a person. Whereas the demonic infestation, you're going to have religious objects are going to be desecrated. And when I'm talking about I'm thrown across the room, shattered on the ground. You have that sulfur or the rotten flesh smell. Animals are absolutely terrified. They're also terrified with poltergeist too. But then it starts interacting with an individual. So with the demonic, it begins to attack you, scratch you, bite you, pinch you, hit you. It's affecting the oppression. It's affecting the intellect and will of the person. So what I've done is when the poltergeist cases, I always ask them what's going on, and all the appliances are catching fire, light bulbs are popping, things are being thrown. Are they being thrown at someone? No, they're just being thrown. Okay. What else is happening? Animals are afraid. Okay. Feeling oppressed. Okay. So I have found that when you find out that someone in the family is usually going through extreme emotional trauma, when you remove that person from the home, you'll have sometimes what's called residual energy. Residual means that it's there, but it's slowly fading away. But then you bring that person right back into the home, the activity explodes again. And so when you get that person counseling the activity, that's the only way to stop a poltergeist. That's it. Poltergeist is not demonic. I want to make that very, very clear. There are so many people that say poltergeist is demonic. It is not. It is not. It drives me crazy. It is not. It's not demonic. It is negative energy. Now, can a demonic attach itself to that energy? Well, sure, but it doesn't need to, because the demonic is in spirit form, pure spirit. It has no desire, it has no need. Demonic is not. The demonic attack on you is not contingent upon whether or not there's poltergeist, because the demonic can use its own energy. It's not contingent upon that. So it's not dependent on that poltergeist activity. It certainly can. but it's not necessary. Okay. Yep, the problem. So that is what the poltergeist is. And poltergeist, it mimics it because it's violent, and it mimics demonic activity. But as I mentioned, religious objects are not desecrated. You will not hear the bangings of, not all the time there's bangings of three. Sometimes there are, especially with demonic, but not all the time, even demonic. Bangings of three is a mocking of the Trinity. But even scratches of three, as I told Zach 15, 20 years ago on Ghost Adventures, but not all the time. And by the way, let me just tell you something. If you're going to send me a picture of a scratch in three, you better know what you're looking for, because I know what is fake and I know what is real. So I don't want to call people out, but a lot of people are sending me pictures of scratches of three, and they are as fake as a $3 bill. And I'm not going to tell you how I know that, because because then if I do that, then people will start sending me, see, and then causing, no. So an exorcist can easily determine what is fake and what is real. There's a huge difference. It is clear, crystal clear. So if you're going to send a picture to an exorcist who's trained, and there are three scratches, just don't send a fake one, because I'll call you on it. So, wow, having trouble streaming on Twitter. Gosh, I tell you what, there's so many problems right now with Twitter, isn't there? And everything online. It's crazy. Now, residual hauntings. Can ghosts manifest their image on leather chairs? I have seen images, but there's also I have seen that before. I've seen also on glass, but there's a term called pareidolia. And for example, if you look in the clouds, and you're like, oh my goodness, there's a moose, or there's a rabbit, or there's one person will see a rabbit, and one person will see a whatever, nothing. So same thing for glass, like especially with imprints on glass. People say, oh, that's a hand, and another person says, I don't see it. That's a face. Where? Or don't you see the nose? And then the person saying, here's the mustache and here's the beard. I mean, they're the blue eyes and everything. Like, so you have to be careful with that, because unless it's crystal clear, then pareidolia can easily keep a Kodiak bear for example. So, all right, residual haunting. Let's talk about residual haunting. There's a difference between residual haunting and intelligent haunting. So, who was there was abusive, and they leave, and the activity comes down. That's poltergeist. So what if the person who was there was abusive, and they leave, and the activity calms down? Yeah, again, that is negative energy that someone is emitting. And when that activity decreases to the point where it's almost non-existent, and you might still have residual, but it's not as violent. When the person comes back, then of course it gets crazy again. That's classic poltergeist case. Now, residual haunting. Residual haunting is not intelligent. So the theory behind residual haunting is this: the energy is imprinted on a location, and that location will replay these residual activity. Like in battlefields, you'll see this a lot in battlefields. There's a lot of famous battlefields, but you'll see that I think there was a television show that had filmed. It looked like Civil War soldiers just going around and around and around. There was no intelligent. There was no interaction. That's considered residual haunting. There's no interactive at all. There's no interaction whatsoever. Now that's residual. So the belief is that energy somehow has imprinted on that location. It's the same way if you go to like an old cabin, and you just feel that energy. You just feel that energy of people that used to live there or whatever. You can just feel it. So that's the theory, that energy has imprinted on that location. It doesn't know that you are there. It doesn't interact. And it can be repetitive, but there is no intelligence there. There's no. Now, with a human haunting, if you will, this is intelligent. So, for example, when you're doing EVP work and you have, okay, what is your name? Jeff. How old are you? 23. and you're getting intelligent answers. But here's what I always do. When I always do EVP, I always start out with preliminary questions first. Do you confess Yahweh is God? Is Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior? Do you bow before the cross of Christ? Because I don't want to interact, obviously, with any type of demonic unless I'm there to perform the minor rite of exorcism. And really, for me, honestly, the investigators have already done this. So I always try to do preliminary questions first. And because if obviously you get it, well, thank you. If you get that response that's aggressive, then you know, okay, you really shouldn't push forward on this. Because if you do, you can get yourself hurt. So you go to a place called, let's say you go to a place that's known to be demonic. You need to be very careful because you can have an attachment. So you definitely need to pray. You know, there's a prayer, St. Michael prayer. And there's a short form and a longer form. The short form, St. Michael, the archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the malice and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who wander the earth seeking the ruin of souls. Put it to memory, and if you don't have the memory, just print it out. But let me just make it very clear to you. You can pray that prayer, and you should. But if you go to a location that's known to have demonic infestation, that is a form of invitation. There's no other way to put this. So you can pray the St. Michael prayer. But if you're going into a location that's known to have demonic infestation or demonic activity, that by your very presence, you are inviting. You can't have it both ways. You just simply cannot. It also says, do not put the Lord your God to test. So you can't pray the defensive prayer and then go into demonic cases and then be surprised that you have an attachment. So you need to please understand that. The attachments, like, for example, if you go to a location, is there anyone here? Can you make a noise? Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? That, and the demonic can attach itself to you. You then go home. By that very attachment, you have infestation. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Julian. And I also have had what I said, do you confess Yeshua is your Lord and Savior? The answer was hell no. I mean, it was very, very resound hell no. And it was a guttural, really deep hell no. But of course, I knew what I was dealing with in that case. It was a demonic case. So I already knew that. But attachments, so you have an attachment, you go home, and because you have an attachment, now you have demonic infestation. So demonic infestation can manifest in a variety of ways. So religious objects will be desecrated. You sometimes will have bangings of three. Sometimes you'll have ectoplasm. You'll have scratches. You'll have animals are terrified. It's very violent. Things are thrown. But then it begins to interact with you. So that's demonic oppression. And that's when it begins to bite you and pinch you and scratch you and hit you. So it's causing the will of the person to deteriorate for the sole purpose of to destroy, eradicate the will. Because if it's constantly biting you and scratching you and pinching you, and you're seeing these manifestations in front of you, these ghastly figures, as Annalise McKell, she described them, Emily Rose, she described this as ghastly figures. And it interferes with your sleep, and you're terrified. So again, you're past sleep deprivation, you're absolutely exhausted, and you're terrified. Your will is being deteriorated rapidly, and it also goes into demonic obsession. So it begins to interact with you on an intellectual level. So you begin to hear it. So it's breaking down the intellect and will. So then possession can take place. So you need to be very careful when you go to places that are known to just stay away from it. Can family issue be a result of a haunting or anything? Family issues such as like a family curse. I mean, I've done a lot. I've done some prayers on family curses, but you can certainly pray. There are prayers you can pray over family curses, but that's what you're referring to. The Estes method, actually, I'm going to talk about the Estes method. Is really cool. So make sure you have flashlights. Make sure you, there's also called laser grids, and I don't have that with me, but a laser grid, almost like that flat, long flashlight, and you push the button and it has this laser grid. Sometimes they're green, they're blue, there's several colors, and it's like this great big grid. And the purpose of that is when you see that grid, something interfering with it, like a shadow or something walking in front of it, then you can catch a lot of really cool evidence with that. Really, really cool. So the laser grids are used by a lot of people. Motion detectors, people will use that as well. I'm trying to think of some other things that are some important stuff. Let me just, because I did have that, I wanted to talk about, oh, shoot. Let me get it. Hold on. Yeah, the Estes method is really, really interesting. I do like that. So, all right. So let me just make sure you get your baselines done, the temperatures indoors and outdoors. Make sure the ambient light and sound. And also, when you're doing EVP work, do not whisper. Don't do that. So if someone is doing EVP work and you're like, okay, see, if that person didn't hear you and then they caught it, like, oh my gosh, it's an EVP. See, now you've caused a major issue there. So there's no reason to whisper, but you don't want to scream it, but you also need to make sure you mark it. Okay, John Doe asked me a question about this. And so that's important. So yeah, keep an eye. Don't try not to whisper, but also not screaming. There's no need to scream. Document everything. Make sure you document everything. Now there's a term called trigger objects. Right. So trigger objects are really cool. And nope, I've already discussed. Folks. There's a lot of. Again, I have chat going on here. I have a chat going on here. I have multiple chats going on. So people are asking me about, I thought you're not supposed to contact folks. I've already answered that question multiple times. So I can't keep repeating things. So you'll have to go back and watch it again because I've already dealt with that. So trigger objects. Now, trigger objects are really cool and they do work. And what I mean by that, like toys, dolls, alcohol, or music, or anything that would trigger. It's like, let's say, for example, okay, there. So a person who passed away wore these glasses. And many times you can put this trigger object, okay, here are your glasses. Can you move them? Something of this nature, or a doll that could have belonged to somebody, or something that belonged to that person that you're trying to communicate or finding if that's the person. And so trigger objects really, really do work. I think his name is Tommy. I think it's at Waverly Hills. I think it's Tommy. It's a little boy, although I'm very suspicious of that because I don't believe that children remain. I think God would allow. I'm not a big fan. Anytime when I hear children ghost, that's a red flag for me. Red flag, because I just don't believe that the children would be lost here or remain here. I think that they would be taken up to heaven wherever they need to be. But that's just my own person. But anyway, there's a little ball that they like to kick back and forth, and you actually see it. I mean, there's a ball right there, and it'll move. And they say, "Can you move the ball? Can you kick the ball?" And it'll move down the way. So, yeah. Okay, let's talk about. Hold on. We talked about EMF. The Estes method. That's really cool. The Sally House is dangerous stuff. The Estes method is it's an investigation technique. What happens is it's isolating, like running a spirit box to headphones worn by like a human person, a person that's blindfolded. And the receiver will verbalize potential responses, but should not be able to see or hear the questions. We use the Estes method when I was at Bobby Mackey's with Ghost Adventures. So what it was is I think I don't know if we used the Ovilus then or not. I can't remember which device it was, but I had the sound headsets on that were sound noising, canceling, whatever. And I couldn't hear anything. I could hear nothing at all. It was an SB7. That's what it was. Here. A lot of people will use what's called the SB7 spirit box. So the SB7's, it's a really cool, I mean, a lot of people will use this and they swear by it. But the problem is sometimes it gets a little annoying trying to listen to what it's saying. Yeah, that's one thing I don't like about it, is that it'll just make this loud noise. But there's some SB7 boxes that it doesn't do that. I wish I could find one of those. I don't even know if I have the battery in this. Nope, that's why it doesn't work. So anyway, it just makes this. It scans like radio stations or frequencies, and a lot of people will listen to this. And I believe we did I want to say at the SB7. I think we used this at Bobby Mackey's. This is the one that I used, and I had a noise canceling headset. The reason is I do that is because I don't want to even hear the question. You don't want to hear the question. All your senses are completely protected, and the only thing you hear is what's coming through the device. That's it. And this is one of the reasons why they stopped the investigation. They closed it down. I think it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 or 4 in the morning. They stopped it because I kept hearing trees, and it was saying some other things that I'm not going to mention, but it was saying some other things that really affected the guys because they were going through some serious stuff, personal issues. And I just told whatever I heard, I just said, okay, this and this. I was like, why is it talking about this? Why is it talking? So, and I just said it, that the Estes method is very powerful. So you don't hear the question. So basically you're blindfolded. So what it is, you're sitting in the room, you're blindfolded. You have the device, you have noise canceling headsets. You turn it up loud and really, you can't hear anything, nothing. You can't see anything. All you're doing is relaying whatever you're hearing. And then someone could over here is asking, what is my name, or what is your name, and and then you just, whatever it is that you hear, you say it. You don't hear that person ask the question. It's a very powerful, it's a good method. I have had some amazing, some amazing evidence captured on that. Yeah, and that actually caused, because of what was going through that SB7, and I was just saying these things that it was kind of random. It was like, this doesn't make sense to me at all. But that you're not supposed to question it. This is what it is. This is what I hear, and you say it. They apparently, it shook them to the core because something was coming through about their very personal, private life that they had not made public. They had not made public at all. And it affected them pretty badly. So that's now spirit attachment. Items are not possessed. So you'll hear people talk about possessed dolls. Dolls don't get possessed. Humans get possessed. So a demonic will attach itself to a doll or an object of some nature, but they don't possess. They attach. They possess us. We are the living spirit of the Holy Spirit. We are the created image of God. So they try to possess the body for the sole purpose of desecrating. Why? Because we are created in the image of God. So it's ultimate form of desecration of the imago of Yahweh, the image of God. So that's the point of desecrating the living temple of the Holy Spirit, which we are. Dolls or objects can have a demonic attachment to it. And for example, if you are at a location and you become obsessed, like the case that I had on Legion of Exorcists show, the Eli Roth Legion of Exorcists, I talked about this doll that this woman, this mom, she had to have it. She became obsessed. I mean, she became obsessed with this doll. And her husband was trying to talk to her, and she didn't even hear a word he said. She did not care. She told me if I had to put a second mortgage on my home, I was going to buy that doll. I was going to walk out of that place with that doll. She said, I could not explain it. I could not explain it. She brought that doll home. She had done things in her teens that she should not have done. So now she's a mom. She was a mom. She had the wife and everything was great and everything. 15, 20 years later, and now she buys this doll and she brought it home. And that's the case where the entire home completely was obliterated by fire. I mean, and I still have that doll. Sometimes I have it on the show. The whole house was burnt down. This was a McMansion 3-story, beautiful home. Everything was burnt to. I mean, it was like the fire chief told me it was like someone had put gasoline in the entire house and just lit it. And that's how, because it was so hot and it burnt so hot that nothing was there, not even the staircase. But they found nothing. They didn't find any type of fuel. They didn't find nothing at all. So obviously the family didn't do it. But the only thing that was there was this ornate metal bookshelf and that doll. And that doll is porcelain. And there's burnt marks on the doll itself. I have the doll. It's over there, but I can't bring it because if I do, I'll have to take my headset off and all that. But maybe one day I'll talk again about, bring some more items with me. Maybe we'll do the haunted items on the next show. But that's what happens. She became so obsessed with this doll, she brought it home. And the demonic is very patient. Well, so why do spirits often remain in the burial ground? We just, you know what? Well, it's an interesting thing. It is so odd that when you go to locations like cemeteries and you do investigations and you get all this evidence, but then I've been in cases where the home, it wasn't violent at all, but there was paranormal activity, and for example, you could smell the person's cologne, or their perfume, or if they smoked, or something like this, and you can smell that, and then you can go to that local. You can go to the cemetery, maybe do some work on that person's grave, or do some paranormal research, and there's nothing at all. I've also had cases where I'd go to their home, like for example, there was a mom, and her father had passed away, and her father loved smoking a pipe, love it, and she lived with her father. Her father lived with her actually because she took care of him, and so he had passed away, and he smoked the pipe in the house. She didn't like it, but he smoked the pipe in the house. But he had passed away, and some paranormal activity started hurting. Some doors being moved, and little things, small things, nothing scary. But she was a little afraid. She didn't understand what that. She would smell his tobacco. She would smell his pipe all the time. And so we went there. We did some work, some EVP work. We captured some pretty interesting. We got a laugh, like a male laugh, but it wasn't a mean laugh. It was his laugh. That's what she said. It was like his laughter, the way he laughs. And it was some other EVP, but it wasn't anything violent. And then I go to the cemetery where he was buried, and I try to do some EVP work there. Nothing. Absolutely, literally dead. Nothing. And so I go back to the home, do a little bit more EVP work, and then I go back to the cemetery plot, and I got that it was insane. The evidence was just off the chart. And it was so hard. It's like, okay, how is it that we go to the house, we capture basic stuff, then we go to the cemetery where he was buried, nothing at all, not even nothing, EMF, nothing went off. Then we go back to the home and the activity increased, but it wasn't violent. And we go back to the cemetery and the activity was off the chart. I don't know what to make of that, but I know what the evidence said. And but it was pretty but it wasn't violent. It wasn't aggressive. They weren't scared. They just wanted kind of to know that he was okay to stop. All right, thank you, Mr. Producer. Let me just say this very quickly, and because everybody needs to hear this, because a lot of people struggle with sleep paralysis. So let me touch on this briefly, and I'll do a presentation one day again on sleep paralysis. I've already done that once before. If you are going to bed or you are waking up and you are having these sleep paralysis episodes where you see this ghastly figure, you cannot move, you cannot say anything, and that's it. There's no other activity occurring in your home, nothing else. There's no religious objects are desecrated, no bangings, no ectoplasm, no one's being scratched or bit or punched or hit or anything like that, nothing. It only happens when you're waking up or going to sleep. That's it. That is called isolated sleep paralysis, which is normal. That is normal. It's scary. There's also called RISP, recurrent isolated sleep paralysis, which it happens more than once. I had a neurosurgeon on the show. I talked to him about this. Now, he said that narcolepsy is something that one should be tested for if you suffer for RISP, recurrent isolated sleep paralysis. What he says is in the dream state, this is where our dreams are projected. And when you're going to sleep, the subconscious takes control of the motor functions of the body. And if you're startled or whatever it might be, you are catatonic. But yet you can see this image that's being projected. And it is scary because that is where your dreams are projected. But after 30 seconds or so, your body then, your conscious takes control of the brain, and then you're able to move, and that vision goes away. With a demonic, it's not contingent on sleep paralysis. So if you have a demonic in your home, you're going to have infestation issues. You're going to have manifestation issues. You're going to have religious objects are desecrated, the bangings, the scratching, the biting, the pinching, and sleep paralysis episodes. So those go hand in hand when it's demonic. If it's only occurring when you're going to bed or waking up and you're having no other manifestations, none whatsoever, it's sleep paralysis. And more people suffer from sleep paralysis than you can possibly know, according to the neurosurgeon, which is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Okay, so for those of you on Spreaker, I'm going to have to say goodnight to you guys. Good grief, it's already time to end. Man, isn't that crazy? TikTok, I'll stay with you guys for a little bit longer. I want to remind everybody that tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will have night prayer. Don't forget, I am going to be here tomorrow. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have a lot of articles that I have not even touched. So we're going to go over a lot of articles. So I'll be doing that tomorrow and answering questions as well. Whatever questions you have, theology questions, whatever it is that's on your mind, it's open mic tomorrow night. And then on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, we have Bible study. I'm starting a brand new kind of Bible study to where on the second hour, I'm taking each book of the Bible and I'm breaking it down for you and telling you the main points, who the author, when it was written, and we're moving on. That way you can get an overview of each book of the Bible. That's on Sundays and Wednesdays. So this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is our Bible study. Tomorrow I will be here, right here, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our open mic as well. Okay, my friends, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Rumble, remember I tell you all the time, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. Don't let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. So my friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch and Rumble, good night. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.